Welcome back to True Von Talks with Rachel and Linda. We're here today to talk about what we're passionate about, which is healthy bonds and how to know when you're in a healthy bond and how to know when you're not and what that looks like.
Yeah, relationships, communication, and boundaries, right, Linda?
Boundaries. I just go on and on about boundaries.
I know. Yeah. So what is a healthy bond? What does that look like?
So Sue Johnson would tell us, our mentor, from everything we have learned, a healthy bond is when I respect you and your needs and your anxieties, and you can share with me your needs, your anxieties, and we just hold each other in that, and we're there for each other.
It's two-way street, right? I've got your back and I know you've got mine.
Oh, don't people want that though?
Oh my gosh, everybody. Yeah, we all want that. There's this saying in the attachment community, attachment-based therapist community, that we are, wired to connect. We are always in search of love and trying to determine if we're lovable.
Yeah. Do I matter? Am I good enough for you to call me up and go to coffee? Am I going to get invited? Do you care if I get hurt? Yeah. So a healthy bond, like what Rachel's saying, is a two-way street. You feel seen and heard, and that person feels seen and heard. And what better way to do life than to have someone be there for you and you be there for them?
Yeah. There's a level of safety in a healthy bond when it comes to expressing your needs, which we all have. We all have emotional needs.
Yeah. And if you're struggling with, and I'm gonna move this pole back here. Y'all see that pole? What is that pole there? What is that? What is this? Sorry about this. Sorry guys, I didn't want you to see the pole. I don't know what that is. Me just being me. Okay. So yeah, when we talk about having healthy bonds, like Rachel can laugh at my goofy and we're still good. We're still good. And if someone doesn't have space for your silliness, your quirks, your weirdness, if they mock you or criticize you, no, then you want to take a step back, like Jordan Peterson would say, and take a look at that person and just sort of stand back and see what's happening here. Every time I'm around you, I start to feel this churning in my stomach, or why the negativity? What's happening? If every time you're around someone, they want to say, well, Linda, why don't you do that with your hair? Maybe you should get contacts, or maybe you should, maybe you should do that. Maybe she get some plastic surgery. I don't know. Nobody said that. Nobody said that. I'm kidding.
I'm where they at?
Yeah, I know. Rachel would offend me. But, they come to your house. I'm like, what's up with those curtains? You know how to do that. Why don't you paint that wall this color? And then you just said
judgmental.
Yes.
Critical, judgmental, always has a negative comment to make, huh?
Yeah. Now, would you describe that person, that type of interaction, as healthy, or?
Nope.
No.
Because how is that landing on you? I mean, how are you after that interaction? You're not feeling the warm fuzzies. You're not feeling confident.
Mm-mm.
It's damaging to self-esteem and confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that is when you take that step back and you take a look and see, and you start to notice is when I interact with this person or when I get a text from this individual, if I'm not, like you said, if it's landing on me in a way that I feel negative or not good enough, then, and we've probably said this in other podcasts, I'm sure, that's a toxic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when my clients ask about these bonds and they're in these unhealthy kind of relationships with family members, I'm like, well, you just cut them off. And they look at me like, what? Cut them off? Linda, you just cut them off. I'm like, I know that's a little harsh. Okay. Well, how about we ignore them for a couple days?
You stop spending time with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of protest from people? Like when you say, hey, let's take a step back.
I actually did a TikTok about this. Everyone says, but what if it hurts their feelings? I don't want to hurt them, which is really thoughtful and kind.
Mm-hmm.
But my response to that is, are they not hurting you?
Oh, wisdom, Rachel, wisdom. I like that. Are they not hurting you?
Because it sounds like they are.
Sure does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. I'm too old for that. No, I'm 42. I'm too old for that. When I'm around, I don't care who it is. I don't care if every time I'm around you, you're trying to create strife or be critical or upset or angry, and you're focused on all this negativity. No, I'm not inviting you to Thanksgiving dinner. Bye.
Exhausting. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not a bad person for having that mindset. People are so worried that's going to make them a bad person if they protect themselves from someone that hurts them.
Oh yeah. And they're not a bad person for protecting themselves.
No.
Right?
Not at all. That's boundaries. That's what we're talking about. Right.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I get the empath. I'm an empath. You are too. Counselors are by nature very empathic, compassionate, genuine. In my 20s, like I've described before, I was out there on a limb, on the balance beam. Oh, who else can I take care of? What can I do for you? How can I make you feel good? We're holding all this people's stuff. We're trying to balance it all. And then you wake up and you're like, what? You ask them to be there for you, to show up when you need them, and they're not there.
It tells you a lot.
Yeah.
It tells you a lot about that other person and what they're capable of or willing to do.
Are they going to walk on a balance beam for you?
Maybe not.
Not likely. Not likely. And that's like, well, I got to help people. I got to be there for them. I got to walk the 3 miles with them. I got to give them my coat, my tunic, my shoes, my, okay, you can do that. How you feeling? I'm exhausted. I'm angry. I'm resentful. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. Ah, what are you resentful about?
Always giving more than I get.
Yeah, making these deposits
Yeah.
elsewhere. And and this is the part, I'm gonna look at our notes because I'm a cheater in that sense.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So when do you express your needs to friends, family members, or colleagues? Oh, yeah. When do you share? Rachel will share with me. I can't take any more clients. I'm full. I'm maxed
Yeah.
out. Got it. Duly noted. Absolutely take care of you first. Duly noted. Now, do most employers do that?
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fortunately, no. But fortunately now with the pandemic, what's happened is we see a swing in the other direction. Employees are saying, hey, I'm not working 45 hours a week for 10 or less dollars an hour. Yeah. So the boundaries are being set by, what's happening in the world for people.
Uh-huh.
You're smiling.
I'm proud of people. I love it.
It's good.
Know your worth.
What was that, Rachel?
Know your worth.
Know your value. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Linda, wondering if you see the same thing that I do when talking to people and they are feeling like, other people don't put as much into a relationship as they do, right? You're talking about walking on the balance beam and always giving and going the extra mile. And then do you often hear from people that they're worried that there must be something wrong about them and that's their fear for the reason that others don't put in as much effort as they do?
I love how you slowed that down for me. Some hyper from the coffee. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Often, clients will share that they feel, well, I'm just not worth it. And they're waiting for people to show that back. They're waiting for them to practice the golden rule. They've been taught the golden rule since they were little in Bible school.
Yeah.
Do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. I hear that a lot. I was taught it too. What's the error with that, though? Waiting for people to do unto you. What is the error, I guess? Not the scriptures. The scripture's perfect.
Right.
Human error.
The human error. I guess that what comes to my mind is having that expectation that others are going to have that same value that you do, right? Expecting everyone to treat you the way that you would treat them, the way that you do treat them. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, that expectation. Yes, that's what was probably coming to mind yesterday when I texted you, is expectation that others are going to show up in the same way. If I needed a ride, if I broke down, I'm going to call Rachel. She's going to come help me. I'm going to call, my sister. She's going to come help me. Call my friend Amy. She's going to come help me. When I was young, I'm not
you
old.
Act like it was forever ago, Linda. Yeah, 42.
Okay,
young.
I'm young. I'm still young. Okay, I'm still young.
Yeah.
Okay, but when I was really young, how about that? In my early 20s, Dr. Bobby Miller, whom I listened to on, some of you folks may have done so, 107.9. he would take scripture and talk about the psychology behind that scripture. And that really,
how neat.
yes, that evoked so much inside me. I guess evokes the correct word. And this is the question he posed. And I just want to honor him. He's not with us anymore. I just want to honor him with that. And thank you, Dr. Miller, for inspiring me. I just want to say that. And he said, well, the guy said, well, do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. That's what we do, right? And he said, but what if you don't do to yourself well? What if you don't take care of you? Do you want people to treat you bad? No.
Right.
If I'm eating cheese puffs all day, and I would love to eat cheese puffs all day, not eat the right things, not sleep, gouge down some alcohol to go to sleep, never say no to anyone, let people come in and take my stuff, don't say no to anything that anyone asks of you at any time. You drop what you're doing, even if you're at work, and go help that person. What's happening? That's kind of what he said in that radio. Well, it wasn't a podcast, it was a radio station at the time. But yeah, he was saying that how could you do unto others as you would have them to do unto you if you don't take care of you and you don't have any boundaries in life?
That's an excellent point. That's wisdom right there. Yeah, because I see that happen all the time.
Yeah. And so, if anyone is more interested, we've talked about boundaries with Dr. Cloud Townsend, when to say yes and when to say no. My supervisor, Miss Angie Juniper, was the first to introduce that one to me. And he brings up the Good Samaritan, and that's in the scriptures too, of course. And he says, no one helped this guy. He's laying on the ditch. He'd been robbed. The priest walks by him, doesn't help him. And the Good Samaritan comes up, and I'm paraphrasing and shortening, of course. And he helps him. He packs him up, and he bandaged his wounds. He poured on oil and wine. He put him on his own donkey. He brought him to the inn, took care of him. Okay. Well, what Dr. Townsend says, well, how could he have done that? Why did he have Band-Aids, and why did he have oil and wine? How did he have those things? And I'm just posing as a,
that's a great question.
Well, he did his work. He worked throughout the day. He had money because he did take care of his business. And he had bandages because he was prepared for himself if he got hurt. So he took good care of himself. And that's the part. I can't take care of you if I don't take care of me.
Yeah, it's so important to remember. Yeah.
And so I
many
love
people.
Go ahead, Miss
Thanks for
Rachel.
sharing it. Yeah, I know so many people that beat themselves up mentally, talk down to themselves all the time, right? Don't have a positive thing to say about themselves, and yet are so kind and generous and caring to other people. They're not treating themselves the same way that they treat others.
So that's an error of what? What is the error there?
Not doing unto yourself as you're doing unto others. Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, very good. So, and if you go a little bit further with that, when we talk about attachment bonds, when you were a child, were you encouraged? And I would ask people, were you encouraged to talk about how you doing? How are you feeling today? Have you drank enough water? Have you taken your vitamins? Talk about from the caregiver to the child.
Right.
Hey,
Checking in. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you need a hug? How's things going for you at school? Are you getting enough rest? How are your friendships?
Yeah.
Are you eating healthy today? Did you work out today? So the caregiver teaches the child. I'm always preaching and teaching these things to my child is how you taking care of your temple? How you taking care of you and your soul and your temple? Well, and like you said, what's the error, or what you said was true, is they aren't doing unto themselves. Well, were they taught that by their caregiver to take care of themselves?
Most of the time, no. And I want to point out real quick
Thank
the
you.
way that you're wording that, right? How have you done this today, right? Or have you done this today versus the alternative, which happens a lot of the time, which is the kids eating candy and, someone comes with an apple and's like, you need to eat this instead, right? It's shared with like criticism and judgment,
Oh,
like in that manner, right? That's how it's perceived versus that just like subtle check-in example that you were giving, right? Which is teaching, hey, this is important. I care about you. Are you doing these things? Can I help you do these things?
You go one step further as a mom or dad and take the vitamins and be like, here are the vitamins. I think they'd be healthy for you. Would you take these? And
Yeah.
that's going, and that's called over functioning and maybe a little too much caretaking. And you love your children and you want them to be okay. You want them to take care of this because that's your heart. So, that's important, Rachel. What you're saying is true. Not criticizing, oh, you should have eaten that candy. Here's this apple, well, that's going to turn them off to caretaking. Being critical, oh, you should have worked out 4 hours today. That expectation is too high. And then that lands on the individual like, I'm not doing enough for me, or the child, I'm not doing enough.
Right.
So it's an art, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah, it's hard. The way that it's communicated is important. Yeah. Challenging.
Yeah. And that would teach your kid to be a great boundary setter. They'd be like, I'm going to do unto myself. I'm going to do unto them as I do to me.
Yeah.
And, if parents weren't taught that by their parents, of course they're not going to know to, hey, check in, or how you doing? How you feeling?
Right.
And there's no blaming. There's no, find the bad guy. I'm not finding the bad guy. I'm just sharing what would help people to respect themselves enough to have healthy bonds and adult life. So.
Yeah. Sounds like learning how to prioritize your own needs, respect your own needs instead of dismissing them.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking about bad parenting. Like, I can't help it. Okay. It's just,
Hey, it happens.
yeah. So if, you were guilt tripped as a child into doing things.
That happens a lot.
Or you were told you were born to help, help your parent. You were born to help raise the other kids, or you were born to work the farm. There aren't many farms left in our state, but hey, you were born to, you don't really matter. You're just here for this reason. Or that message can come in many ways, can it, Rachel? Like that you're just here for some other reason, not. Yeah. And what that does to the psyche is it makes you feel insecure about your own self and what your purpose is in being here. And so you might people please to get the validation that you didn't get.
Yeah, we all need and want to feel loved and accepted. And if that's not something that's naturally occurring as we're growing up in childhood, we are going to figure out a way to secure that need. Whether it's people pleasing or acting out.
And that can create, blurred boundaries in your relationships as an adult. So reel that in. If you feel yourself feeling drained or resentful of someone close to you, reel it in. I'm gonna say no next time. When they ask for me to do their laundry, I'm just gonna say no. That's okay.
Yeah. And one way that you might be able to figure out, how did I learn to meet that need if it wasn't being met for me, is to finish this sentence. I only matter when. I'm achieving highly, I'm helping people, I'm useful in some way.
Well stated, Miss Rachel. Well stated. If that message is sent, I only matter when. You got a lot of work to do. A lot of work.
It stays with you. If you only mattered growing up, if you only mattered when you were getting straight A's and you're impressing people and you're highly achieving in school, and then you graduate from high school or college and you're not getting a report card anymore, life becomes very difficult because you can't hold something up and prove that you matter.
Oof.
Hard for people.
I never thought about that, Rachel. I didn't think about the report card as an indicator of I matter. I didn't even think of that.
You don't get an A at your job. You might get an evaluation once a year, maybe.
Yeah. And we study validating people. So this is what we're trained to do. So when I like to state that as when you come to counseling, it's a skill set that we have been trained in. And also you can teach those around you how to validate you and ask you for what is your unmet need? What would you like to do? What do you long to do next year? So when you come to therapy, sometimes people are like, wow, I've never felt listened to, seen or heard before. That's what therapy is.
Yeah.
So.
And if you have sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, if you have that mindset, I'm only worthy, if or when, fill in the blank, then therapy is a great place to process that and to learn that you are actually innately worthy as a human being from birth. Your worth and value does not fluctuate based on what you're doing or not doing, right? So that's one of the huge things that we teach people and help them to believe about themselves, because that's what's true.
Yeah, and self-esteem comes from how you think others see you.
Yeah. Yep.
So how important is it to
And what we believe other
Yeah.
people perceive us as is typically a reflection of what we fear most deeply about ourselves, right? It's like a projection. I'm afraid that I am this, and so I assume that everybody else sees or thinks that too. Usually.
That's true. I fear they think I'm this. When in all actuality, I'm this. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Any more thoughts or comments about how to have a healthy bond and view yourself as valuable and what that might look like for our folks listening?
I think you wanted to mention maybe the game Keeping Score in Bond. Can you
Oh,
share a little bit of that real quick before we end the podcast?
absolutely. Absolutely. Um, you know, the social exchange theory is, and we probably said this in a prior podcast, is if I mow your grass, you'll come and mow mine when I'm on vacation. So I'm, socially I'm keeping score, even if I'm not really writing that down. Humans are wired. Exactly. We're wired to keep score. And if you find yourself mowing your neighbor's yard all the time and they're never mowing your yard or even offering to mow your yard, then you're going to feel a negative emotion. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. And so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to be like, hey, can you mow my yard? And if they say no, say, okay, duly noted. I won't be mowing your yard. You don't have to even verbally share that. And when they need you to mow their yard, you're not available anymore because you're going to feel resentment for your neighbor and you're going to want to toss some weeds over there. Or maybe some doggy poop. Yeah. How does that kind of play into having healthy relationships, do you think, Miss Rachel?
Yeah, healthy relationships are open communication, right? And shared like expectations that have been verbally communicated, right? I think when I hear you share about keeping score, it sounds really similar to what I've read about covert contracts, which is terms like I do this thing for someone else and I'm expecting something specific in return, right? It's a covert contract. It's not discussed, but you're only doing this thing because you're assuming that you're going to get something else out of it.
I didn't. I mean, thank you for sharing. Oh, covert contract, you said. Right. Yeah. So like the example that you gave, like I'm only mowing my neighbor's yard because my covert contract is that I'm assuming they're going to mow mine in return. Yeah. Oh, I like that.
It's the same thing as like keeping score. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right. You think people don't share? Like they just assume it's not proper to say, hey, I'm gonna mow your yard, so you'll mow mine. Do they think that that's impolite? Maybe people think that's impolite.
Yeah, maybe. And we're using this generic example of mowing yards, like it could be anything, you know. Yeah, I think there are a lot of assumptions made in relationships, like us just like kind of assuming and like thinking like, oh, well, this is like what's fair. This is how the world works, when that's not how everybody might work. That make any sense? Yeah.
Yeah, it's great sense. I'm processing like, yeah, because not everyone gets it in that same way. Like,
Yeah.
they may think you're just mowing their grass because you're getting exercise or you're bored or something. They don't even know
You're
why
just
you're mowing.
really generous and you love mowing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think one person, somebody wise once said, if never give a gift expecting anything in return. That's why your gift should be anonymous. So if it's a gift, that's different than social exchange or the covert contract, keeping score, that kind of thing. Now, some people like to play games. So we had a podcast, which was great because Rachel's real knowledgeable about this theories, games people play. And, sometimes people are just playing these games. And if you find yourself in a conundrum all the time with someone about why they're doing what they're doing, it's a mind game.
Which is manipulation, which is not healthy.
Thank you. And that's not a secure, safe bond. And if every time you have an interaction, you're left feeling, what just happened? Just go ahead and, push that aside.
Yeah. If you feel like you're playing psychological chess or checkers with someone, unless you enjoy that, which most people do not.
I hope not.
That is not a healthy, safe bond. Yeah. And so, like we said at the beginning of the podcast, our advice is to distance yourself from that person. That is an acceptable thing to do. That does not mean you're a bad person.
Or not a good Christian.
Yeah.
Or not a good whatever your religious bent is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or not religious.
That is a consequence of poor behavior. That's what that is.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then if you can't figure out why you keep going back to that person, that's when you go to counseling and sort of check in. Hey, I'm just drawn to people like this, and then they start talking about childhood and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. That's a trauma bond. Maybe we could do a podcast on that.
I love trauma bond. Yeah. I love talking about that.
We love talking about them. We don't actually love them as a thing. Yeah.
I don't love trauma as a thing. I love the topic.
I know exactly what you meant. Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying, listeners. I hope you know what I mean. Like, that is the reason why I said that, is because it's been coming up. I'm like, wow, this is what this is. Because, people won't cut the person off and you're like, oh my goodness, that's because in childhood, they experience trauma together. So there's a bond there and it's unhealthy, but they can't break away.
Or it mimics the traumatic bond that you had with a primary caregiver. And you're repeating that and replaying that with, a partner or friend or someone.
Yeah, because what do we know about humans? We want to go back to what's familiar.
Yeah, for some reason, our brains think that what's familiar is safe, even though there's this part of us that knows, like, this is not safe. This feels scary. I feel anxious. I feel depressed. I hate this. But we keep doing it because it's familiar.
When you did that, Rachel, I thought about a magnet. You know how
yes.
you're trying to, something's repelling you.
Yes.
Like two positive ends, they repel.
Yep.
And you feel that, but you keep trying to make it fit.
Yeah.
That's your body saying, no. Your psyche saying, this hurts. Let's back off. Yeah. So we'll have to definitely do one on trauma bonds and what that looks like and how to, make sense of it, repair it, and move on.
So hard.
It's very hard, because it's a lonely time when you start cutting off family members. Just saying.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lonely time, much needed, but very lonely. So, yeah. And any other thoughts? Thank you, Miss Rachel, for sharing.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
I think that's all I've got for today. Yeah. Healthy relationships, healthy bonds are mutual, two-way street. I respect and accept you just the way you are. You accept and respect me just the way I am. And there's a level of safety and trust there that allows us to communicate positive and negative thoughts and feelings.
Very good. Well stated. And we appreciate you guys listening and tuning into our podcast today.
All right. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.